The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Young Investors Club webinar. Tonight is all about investing in property, the need to know. So tonight we are going to cover off on some things that we have covered off in the past, very much because it's very timely to go over these things again with some recent activities. So as we all know, our election is finally done and dusted. So essentially it's a timely reminder about property investing, the need for it, the how to, all of those sorts of things for us to have in the front of our mind to move forward. When there's an election, things tend to get put on hold. People pause in their decision making. So like I said, it's a good timely reminder about moving forward. Some other key points of interest over the last couple of weeks is obviously today some news coming from the RBA in terms of interest rates being dropped. It's been a long time since that's happened, since they've moved it all. And we've also had recent talks of APRA making changes to serviceability for lending requirements, which is some really exciting news for people looking for finance. So all of those things combined, it was definitely the right time to cover off the basics and the why and the how of investing in property. So as always, we talk about our presentations being general information, and that before you make any decisions, it's really important to take on board your own personal circumstances, and obviously always talking to your property mentor as well. So who are we? It's been a while since we've gone through the big details. So we are Justin and Jenny Watson, 34 and 33 years old. We both work full time. Our little 2.5-year-old toddler, Olivia. We joined the club back in 2009, so we've officially been members of the club for 10 years now. We became property millionaires in 2012, and we became property mentors in 2016 because by 2016, the club had already given us so much that we really felt it was time for us to give back and to help others on their property journey. We became the Young Investors Club ambassadors in 2016 and became the Young Investors Club presidents in 2018. So part of our role as Young Investors Club presidents is encouraging and educating the younger generation as to the why it's important to think about our future, as well as the how we can support our future and how the club can help in that circumstance. It's important to note that, because I'm going to cover off our portfolio very shortly, but it's important to note that we are only on average incomes. So it's not like we're earning millions of dollars. Our incomes are quite average in the big scheme of things. So our property portfolio, in 2007, we bought our first property in Romsey. The price was $228K, now worth $500. In 2010, we bought our first club property in 8 Mile Plains in Queensland, and we purchased it for $345, now worth $420. In 2013, we purchased our next club property in St Mary's for $319, now worth $440. So a good little bonus one that one was for us. In 2015, we purchased another club property for $460, still worth $460. And in 2017, we bought in Midland, WA, 360, now worth 360 still. We bought that one at the bottom of the market, so we're anticipating that that will go up soon. So let's get stuck into it. So starting now, what's in it for me? So one of the most common thing older investors say to us is, we wish we started earlier. Anytime we do meet and mingle with other property investors, we constantly get, oh, I wish we started earlier like you guys. The reality is, though, that it needs to be more than just a wish, because by waiting to take action, it's actually costing you money. So let's talk about that. If you purchased a property 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, it would already be increasing in value. You'd be on your way to financial freedom. Why is financial freedom important? Yep, we are young, okay? And retirement is probably not even in your mind. But this generation of Aussies needs to realise that superannuation is not going to cut it for us in retirement if we actually want to enjoy it. And it's not just about retirement, it's about that journey to retirement. None of us want that poor hungry little piggy bank sitting over there in the corner. I want a fat and full piggy bank. So very important to think about. Let's play a game of would you rather. So would you rather work into your 70s, or would you rather retire and enjoy your time while you're fitter and healthier? Would you rather live with your kids so that they can support you? Or would you rather live independently? What about worrying about using the heater too much? Or travel to warm and tropical destinations? They all seem pretty straightforward and easy answers, but the reality is that you've actually got to do something in order to make your preference happen. So let's have a think about this. Action you take today will impact your future, but your lack of action today will impact your future as well. Okay, so it's not just about the things that you do that are going to impact you moving forward. It's also the things that you don't do. Okay, so really important that you think about that. So how does it make a difference investing in property? So when you purchase a property, you pay the purchase price. Pretty straightforward, common sense, and you'll most likely have a loan for it. As time goes by, the property value increases, but your mortgage doesn't. So the property you bought today, in 30, 40 years' time, will be worth approximately triple, yet it only cost you the purchase price. All right, so you've then got all this equity, which is money that your property's earned, that hasn't cost you a cent to earn. I like to think of this as free money. So let's take a look. Let's say you purchased an investment property when you were 25. Purchase price of $500,000. Let's assume that the property doubles in value every 15 years to be conservative. By the time you're 65, your $500,000 property is now worth 3.5 mil. Okay, so purchased when you were 25, your property is now worth 3.5 mil when you're 65. Now let's have a look and see what happens if you wait 10 years and purchase at 35. Purchase price again is $500,000, but the reality is if you wait an additional 10 years, that purchase price is probably going to be a lot higher than that. Again, assuming that the property doubles in value every 15 years, by the time you're 65, your 500K property is now 2 mil. Okay, so 25 was 3.5 mil. 35 is 2 mil. Now let's take a look at 50, waiting till you're 50. So again, the same parameters. By the time you're 65, your property is only worth 1 mil. So you can see the difference that time makes. In these hypotheticals, waiting to take action until you're 50 costs you 2.5 mil. Waiting to take action until you're 35 costs you 1.5 mil. And that's not even taking into account the tax that you're going to save along the way or any positive cash flow. That's just looking at property growth alone. So some points to remember. A property that costs you $500K today is likely to cost you $1 million in 15 years. So if you're looking at how much waiting to take action costs you, you need to have a think about the loss of property value growth, the loss of tax savings each year. And just to give you a little bit of a understanding of what tax savings might look like. So for Justin and I, with 4 investment properties, we get approximately $25,000 tax back each year between the two of us because of our negative gearing, which obviously with Liberal being elected back in, that's not likely to change. I know that there was talk with Labor coming in that they wanted to remove negative gearing, but thankfully that's not the case. So for us, if we didn't have those 4 investment properties, that $25,000 would be going to the tax man, whereas we're getting that back. Okay, so you've got to incorporate that into the cost if you don't take action, but also the extra cost to purchase the same house in years to come. If I want to purchase a house today, in 10, 15 years, it's not going to be the same price as what I would have paid for it today. So imagine the growth and extra equity if you had 5 properties or even 10. So this is why we've built our portfolio and what we're working towards for our future. So some words of wisdom. Don't let your lack of action cost you money. Start thinking about your retirement. Even though it may seem like a long way away, it's something that's inevitable, okay? No one else is going to look after your retirement, so you need to do it. Your superannuation's not going to cut it. So take action because your investment clock is ticking. So it's all well and good to know that we need to do something and we need to take action. But what about some tips and tricks to actually make it happen? First step, financial wealth check. The first step to taking action and investing in property is to understand your current financial situation. All right, sometimes it can be daunting, sometimes it can be pleasantly surprising, but it's really important to understand where you stand so that you know what you need to work towards. How can the club help? All you need to do is submit a financial wealth check form to your property mentor, and one of our club preferred brokers will assess your current financial situation at no charge and give you an understanding of your borrowing capacity. Second step, set your goals. Now that you know your current financial situation, you can start to plan your goals. In order to work towards where you're going, you need to have goals. So for Justin and I, we have a planning meeting every 6 months where we go out for dinner. We talk about what we want to achieve financially and personally in the next 12 months. And we do that consistently to make sure that we're on the same page. And what we have found on occasions is that when we're talking about it, Justin might be thinking about something in our future, but I might not be. So by having that planning meeting, it gives us a really good opportunity, 1, to have a baby-free night, and 2, to make sure that we are on the same page, which is really important. Third step is budget. So now you need to set your budget. You know your financial situation, you've set your goals, now you need to work out what it's going to take and what you need to do. Now we do have a budgeting webinar on our Young Investors Club YouTube channel, so do encourage you to check that out. We've got a quite detailed version and a not so detailed version, so definitely check that out. So let's talk about tips to making it happen. Getting your deposit together. First, homeowners grant. So if you're willing to make some sacrifices, you can take advantage of the first homeowners grant, even though you're purchasing to invest. So if you purchase in your state and move into the property for the required time frame, you could be eligible to receive the first homeowners grant. And once you've fulfilled the requirement, that the first homeowners grant requires, you can move out and rent the property with someone else paying your mortgage. So don't automatically rule out first homeowners grant because you want to invest. There are ways that you can make it work into your situation. You just need to understand what those eligibility requirements are, and your property mentor will be able to help you with that. So, and it's important to know that each state's requirements are different. So do make sure you talk to your property mentor for specific information. What if it's too expensive to buy in your state? Okay, so let's take Sydney, for example. You may not be able to purchase in your state as a first home buyer due to the cost to get into the market. If that's the case, think about investing interstate and foregoing the first homeowners grant in order to get into the market and start your property equity growth. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that there's more to think about than just the basic funds that you'll get if you get the first homeowners grant. There's that cost for taking time to take action that we've already talked about, which is really important to consider. It's the lack of equity growth because you haven't got into the market. It's the fact that properties are going to get more expensive as time goes on, so you'll be forever chasing your tail. The other point to remember is that if someone is living in your property, renting it out, they're paying your mortgage for you. So it's really important to do the math so that you properly understand how much you would be foregoing if you do forego the first homeowners grant, because in a lot of cases it all works out in the wash. So have a chat to your property mentor. Purchasing interstate. So I often have people say to me, "Oh, Jenny, you've got interstate properties. How did you go about researching and finding those properties?" And I tell them I've never actually seen those properties because I've entrusted the research with the club. So, it does take a lot of people by surprise. But the club does take the hassles out of purchasing interstate by researchers looking into the areas in detail. They engage club preferred conveyancer solicitors in the specific state and provide full property profiles with an abundance of information on the property and its location, and even reimbursing travel expenses for club members who travel to see the property and who are eligible. So some really good initiatives there. Another tip is to keep an eye on the property clock. So Heron Todd White provide a monthly property clock, which your property mentor can help you to locate. So this clock tells you when cities are at their peak in price, declining, at their lowest, and can assist you in identifying when a city is likely at its cheapest. So this helps you identify decisions in terms of where to buy, so that you're getting a property at the best value that you can at that point in time. The bank of mum and dad. So for some, they're lucky enough that mum and dad can support their entry into the property market. And it doesn't have to necessarily be financial support, but they may be in a position that they can assist as a guarantor. So definitely something to have a chat to mum and dad about, especially if mum and dad are in the club. Then the chances are that they've had a great education around property and would have a really good understanding of how to invest in property and the benefits. Club clauses. So this is actually one of my favourite parts of the club, to be honest. So when negotiating great deals for you, the club will always try to negotiate the club clauses into the contract. And this, of course, is to benefit you as the purchaser and our member. So this can help you get started sooner because it helps to reduce your risk of things going wrong. So things such as the ability to exit the contract if you can't get finance, quite a scary thought for people who might be making their first purchase, but this is where the club can help to protect you. Extra security when it comes to valuations not coming in as expected. So I can give you an example with our Midland property because I did mention that we did buy at the bottom of the market. So it was advertised through, obviously with the club, for a higher price. Valuation came down and, the valuation came in and it was for less than what the purchase price was. So the club were able to help us to negotiate in order to get the property at the valued price, because the alternative was, because the club had helped us with the clauses, that we would just exit and withdraw from that sale. So it was a win-win for everybody, really. Negotiated deals. So our researchers work hard to try to negotiate the best deals for our members and look out for properties that offer cashbacks. Okay, so our very first purchase with the club in 8 Mile Plains, we received a $15,000 cashback that the club provided after settlement. So that was a nice little bonus. Free appliance, finishing packages, rental guarantees or top-ups that provide you with rent if you have trouble renting it out, and body corporate coverage. So any of those special negotiated deals will always be included in the information. So chat to your property mentor to discuss properties that offer these great deals. Cash analysis program. So your property mentor will run what we call a cap for you to assist you to understand just how much your property is likely to cost. So this helps you best prepare for your purchase and to help you see if you can afford it after taking into account tax breaks, rental income, and running costs. So you might think that it's going to cost you X amount to maintain your property, but the reality is it could actually be a lot less by the time you take into consideration those things that we've mentioned. Most importantly, if I leave you with one thing, and that is, don't talk yourself out of it. One of the most common things we've identified when assisting people in building their property portfolio is people looking for things wrong with the property not to buy it. What you have to remember is investing in property we treat like a business. We're not buying a property to live in, so we don't need to be in love with the colours of the walls and the colours of the tiles. It needs to be a livable property that tenants are going to find easy to live in. So try not to look for things wrong with the property. You obviously need to do your research and understand that it does fit your needs. But the reality is, in terms of living, it needs to fit the needs of the tenant, not you. So keep that in mind. Remember why you wanted to build a portfolio in the first place. It's all those holidays in the Bahamas. It's the heating that you want to use when you're in retirement. It's all of those things. Your purchase is for investment. It's not your dream home. The longer you wait, the longer before your property increases in value, and the stronger likelihood the property will cost you more to purchase. So why did we take action when we did? Because we want financial freedom now and into the future. So we go on holidays. We go overseas. Well, before we had Olivia, we'd go overseas every year. Now we go every second just because it's really hard with a toddler. But we enjoy life now, even though we have 5 mortgages, because we do those things like budgeting and planning and goal setting. The best time to start is as soon as possible while you still have working life ahead of you, because it's important to remember that property takes time to make money. Okay, so if we waited and didn't start until now, it would have cost us $588,000. $468K in property growth, and $120 that we've got back in tax every single year that the tax man would have kept had we not have had these properties. And for us, we still have another 20, 30 years of work ahead of us. So we're definitely setting up our portfolio to make us comfortable into the future. So that's all of the information for tonight, but one of the things that I'm really passionate about when I'm talking with young investors is spreading the word. In my friends circle, I really worry about the fact that our generation is not thinking about the future and not thinking about what they need to do to protect themselves. So one of the club's really amazing initiatives is a referral. So if you refer somebody to the club and they make a purchase and the property settles, we will give you $2,000 as a thank you for helping us to spread the word and helping people set up their property portfolio in order to take control of their future. So this is a really great initiative. I do ask you to spread the word. Even if it just sparks conversation for people to start thinking about retirement and understanding that superannuation is not going to be enough. On past webinar, I have pointed out that, and I'm just going off the top of my head here, that the average superannuation balance for a man at retirement is around $250,000. And if you plan to live 10, 20 years into retirement, that doesn't leave you a lot of money to play with. So, like I said, really important to spread the word. Hope you've been able to take something out of tonight, and I look forward to speaking with you next month. Thank you.